Hi, it's John Vu, and today's lesson is on Mustang Sally by Wilson Pickett from the Trinity College London Grade 1 Drums Rock and Pop syllabus. So Roger Hawkins played the drums on this great track that was recorded in the 1960s, and it's a soul track with loads of feel. So we've got to portray that when we play through this one. So looking at the sheet music in the top left corner, you've got Mustang Sally, the song title, and beneath that you've got the song genre, which is soul, and then we've got the tempo. So it says a crotchet or a quarter note equals 100. So the tempo of this track is 100 beats per minute. So it's going to and a crotchet is a beat. So it's going to be 100 crotchets every minute. That's the rate. Okay, so that's the tempo of the piece, and then in brackets there you've got 2 bars counting. So that's just letting you know when you play this song with the backing track, there's going to be 2 bars of counting. So you're going to be counted in 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically you're going to hear a bar of minims or half notes and then a bar of crotchets or quarter notes, okay? And remember, the counting is letting you feel the tempo. So obviously you're counted in at the song tempo. So when you listen to that counting for 2 bars, you've really got to feel that tempo. So when you start playing after the counting, you're playing at the correct tempo, okay? So really make sure you listen to that. Then beneath that we've got our stave. So we've got our first bar there, and we can see our clef at the start of the first bar. So that's our percussion clef or our neutral clef, which means on this stave you've got drum or percussion notation. And then we've got our first set of notes. So we've got a 1 bar groove written there, and we've got 2 rhythms for our groove. We've got the top rhythm, which is the hi-hat rhythm, and we've just got quavers there, or 1/8 notes. So that would be counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you're going to play that with the right hand on the hi-hat. And then our bass and snare rhythm is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so you've got quavers for the 1, 2 and the 3, and then you've got a crotchet on the 4. Okay, so the bass and snare rhythm will be played bass, bass, snare, bass, 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 snare, bass, bass, snare, bass, 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 snare. And that's going to be played underneath that hi-hat rhythm. Okay, so both rhythms are going to be played at the same time. Right, so we're going to try that now in time with a metronome at the song tempo, which is 100 beats per minute. Okay, so it's quite a fast tempo. Okay, there's a little push to it. So work your way up to this tempo. Start at a nice slow tempo, maybe 60 BPM, and really get the groove down first. There's a lot of bass drum here, right? So it's quite a busy groove, but make sure you stay relaxed. So when there's a lot of notes, we tend to get quite tense and stiff, and that makes a lot of notes harder to play, okay? So the key is stay relaxed, which is why it's so important to build up the tempo, right? Make sure you practice this at a tempo that's comfortable, so you are relaxed. And as you get more and more confident with the groove and more sort of comfortable with where the notes are going, that's when you can bump up the tempo. So remember, the song tempo, 100 beats per minute, is the target tempo, right? So take as long as you need to get there and just slowly increase it. Make sure you stay relaxed. So Roger Hawkins, who played drums on this track, is considered one of like the grooviest drummers of all time, right? One of the best drummers out there. And the way he portrayed the feel in this track is by staying relaxed. Okay, really cool, and just making that groove sound really smooth. So that's what we need to do when we play this, all right? So don't just think about the notes you're playing. So don't just play the notes. You need to make sure you give the groove the feel. So this is a soul track. There's loads of feel in soul, all right? So really try and bring that across in your playing when we go through this groove. So lastly, before we play it, we can see the dynamic written beneath the bar, and that says MF. So that's short for mezzo forte, which means half loud or medium loud or moderately loud, okay? So that's the dynamic you're playing this at. So let's try this groove through for 4 bars. Okay, so looking at the second bar, so the bar after that groove, we can see a 1 bar repeat symbol there. So all that means is repeat the previous bar, which is the groove we just played. So we play that again, and then in the 3rd and 4th bar of the top line, you've also got 1 bar repeats, which means repeat the previous bar okay, which is obviously repeating that first bar. So for the first line, all we're doing is playing that groove for 4 bars. And on the 4th bar of that line, you can see there's a 4 written in brackets above the bar. So that's just letting you know that at that point, you're on the 4th time of playing the repeated groove. Okay, so when there's lots of 1 bar repeats, which happens a lot in drumming, because often we have a groove that we have to play a few times, when there's lots of 1 bar repeats written down, it's easy to lose track of where you are, because obviously the 1 bar repeats look the same. So what we do is we put in like 4 bar, because we naturally feel 4 bar phrases, we put in where the 4th bar is of the groove. So when you're on that 4th bar and you can feel you're on that 4th bar, you know where you are in the piece. Okay, so that's just letting you know on that last bar on the top line, that's the 4th time through of playing the groove. Alright, so that's all we do for the first line, play that groove for 4 bars, and then we've got a double bar line there at the end of a line, that's letting us know there's a musical change, which brings us into line 2. And line 2, although the music's changing, the groove isn't. Okay, so you can see the same groove written there for line 2. And again, we've got 3 1-bar repeats for line 2 as well. So what we play on line 2 is exactly what we played on line 1. Then we look at line 3. You've got 4 1-bar repeats on line 3, and that's repeating the same groove that you played in line 2 and line 1. And then in line 4, you've got another 4 1-bar repeats of the same groove again. And in line 5, you've got another 4 1-bar repeats of the same groove. Okay, so if you look at the last bar of each of those lines, so if we look at line 2 first, you've got a 4 in there letting you know it's the 4th time through of playing that groove. And then at the end of line 3, you've got an 8 there letting you know it's the 8th bar of playing that groove. So again, it's just the next 4th bar. And then in the next line, on the last bar, you've got a 12 there, letting you know it's the 12th time of playing that groove, which again is a multiple of 4. So it's the 3rd time you've played that groove 4 times, 4 bars. And in the 5th line, in the last bar, you've got a 16 written above it, which again is a multiple of 4. So it tells you the 4th time you've played it, the 8th time, the 12th time, and the 16th time. So every 4 bars, which like I said, you should naturally feel when you're playing this groove. Alright, so when you're playing it, you'll feel you're on the 4th bar. You know that you're on the last bar of each of those lines. Alright, so it just gives you a hand of knowing where you are with the groove. So we're just playing that same groove, just make sure it's consistent as you play it for this many times, and make sure it gives the track that feel, right? That soul feel. So give the groove loads of feel as you're playing it. Then we move into line 6, and we've got the same groove again for another 2 bars. We've got another 2 1-bar repeats there, and then we've got a crotchet or a quarter note on the 1 of the 3rd bar, and that plays on the snare and the kick, so that plays together, and that kind of gives the song like a stop sound, like a pause. All right, so we hit that 1, and it's kind of like an abrupt stop. So we're going to play that groove for 2 bars, and then we're going to stop there on that 1 on that crotchet. So let's try that now, right? So playing 2 bars through of our groove, and then hitting that crotchet on the snare and bass drum on the 1. Right? Let's give that a try, and we'll try that 4 times through. So now we're going to try playing with a backing track right up until that crotchet on the snare and the bass drum, just getting that stop, that pause sound on together with the band. Okay, so we'll try it with the backing track, and remember there's a 2-bar count in, so you're going to hear 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So really feel the rhythm as you hear that count in, and come in with the groove and give it that soul feel. Okay, really concentrate on giving it that soul feel. And feel those 4-bar cycles, those 4-bar phrases, okay? So you can keep count of those numbered repeats, 4, 8, 12, and 16. All right, so let's try get up to that stop at bar 23 with the backing track. And then in the last bar of line 6, we've got a minim rest, so we rest on the 1 and the 2, and we play a fill for the 3 and the 4. So the rhythm we've got is 3 and 4. 3 and 4, okay? So you're going to play that right, left, right, right. Right, left, right, right, and that's all on the snare drum. Okay, so you've got 2 semiquavers or 2 16th notes and an 8th note or a quaver. So that would be 3 and then you've got your crotchet or your quarter note, which would be the 4. So you've got 3 and 4. So let's just try that rhythm first of all. We'll try it 4 times through on the snare drum, and remember you've got that minim rest on 1 and 2. And then we come into our last line. So for the last line, the first bar of the last line, bar 25, you've got the same groove that we had in earlier on in the track, and then you've got another 1 bar repeat. So you play the groove for 2 bars, then you've got a change up in the last 2 bars. So you've got quavers on the hi-hat for the first 2 beats, you've got 1 and 2 and then you've got semi-quavers or 16th notes on the snare drum for the other 2 beats. So you've got 1 and 2 and on the hi-hat, and then 3 and a 4 and on the snare drum. So you'll play the hi-hats with your right hand, right, 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 and then you're going to play single strokes on the snare for the 3 and 4. So right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Underneath that, you've got quarter notes or crotchets on the bass drum. So that just plays 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? And then in the last bar, you finish with a floor tom and a bass drum as a crotchet on the 1. So you just hit those 2 together. So let's just try playing those 2 bars without dynamics. So there's some dynamic markings written beneath it. We'll put those in a moment. So let's just try those 2 bars 4 times through, just to hit the rhythms, get the notes in the right place first of all. And now we're bringing the dynamics for those last 2 bars. So at the start of the second from last bar, you can see there's a P written beneath it at the start of the bar. So that is short for piano, which means quiet. So we've really got to bring the dynamic level down for the start of the bar. And then we can see like an opening crocodile mouth. And this is a crescendo, which means gradually get louder. So as we go through this bar, we start quiet, piano, and then we gradually get louder. And you can see at the start of the last bar, there's an F beneath the last note. So that's forte, which means loud. So through that bar, we have to start piano, which is quiet, and we gradually get louder, and we should come out in the last bar at loud. So you should be gradually getting louder from quiet to loud. And we hit that last note, and you can see there's a arrowhead above that last note, and that is an accent, which means we need to play that note with more, there's more force on it, there's more emphasis on it, right? So we really need to hit that last note with some power, okay? Obviously it's loud anyway, but it just needs to stand out. It's got, we need to give it more emphasis. So let's try those 2 bars again 4 times through, and now we're going to bring in the dynamics as well. So really start it quiet and gradually get louder till you hit that last note with lots of emphasis at forte. So now we'll try the last few bars with the backing track. So we'll go from bar 24, so you're going to have a minim rest, you're going to come in with that 2-beat fill, and then you're going to go into that last line. So make sure you go into that groove and then drop down for the last 2 bars to piano and gradually get louder. So bring in that crescendo up until the last note of the piece. And obviously you know it's the last note of the piece because that last bar has got that final bar line on it. Okay, so let's try those last 5 bars with the backing track.
Now. Oh, I guess you'll have to put your flat feet on the ground.
So now we can play all the notes. We're going to play the whole piece with the backing track. Alright, so we're going to go from the top, 2-bar counting, in with a groove at mezzo forte. Hold that groove, keep it steady, give it loads of feel, loads of groove. Get to that stop, nice clean stop with a band. Come back in with that 2-beat fill into the last line and make sure you've got those dynamics in the last 2 bars. Alright, so let's try it all in time with the backing track.
Mustang Sally, guess you better slow your Mustang down. A Mustang Sally now, baby. Guess you better slow your Mustang down. You've been running all over the town now. Oh, I guess you'll have to put your flat feet on the ground. Uh-huh.
And that's the end of the piece. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, for each of the parts, bring them down to a comfortable tempo when you practice them and gradually increase them to the song tempo. Alright, make sure you're playing them comfortably at the song tempo. So take as long as you need to get there. Once you're there, that's when you want to put it to the music. Okay, so have fun with this track and we'll see you in the next lesson.